I think we're live. Let me just check. One moment. Yeah, we're live here, boys. How are we going? How's everyone going? Hello, Wolfpack. How you doing? Doing well? Almost bedtime in Germany. Yeah, well, look, I don't really cater very well to my European viewers. I know that for a fact because my European viewers aren't a massive part of my viewer base, unfortunately, mate. I mean, in the future, I'm going to try to do more spread out live streams, but at the moment, it's just about getting as many people as possible because obviously the channel isn't very big yet. It's a bit of a small channel still, and so, you know, I don't want to just speak to no one, unfortunately, mate. But I'm glad you could join us today, at least for a bit. If you want to chuck your questions in, I'll answer them first for you because I understand that, you know, as you said, almost time for bed. I understand that you need to go to sleep soon, so chuck your questions in, mate, and I can first and foremost get that done for you because I want to help out everyone here, even the people who won't be able to make it to the streams very often. Looking forward to the live stream. Thanks, mate. Couple thumbs up in the chat there. Good to see. All right, guys. Well, look, while we wait for a few more people to filter in, I'll just say a couple things right now. All right, so I have a couple charts here today. I have 2 or 3 Bitcoin charts, and then I have, obviously, the Ethereum chart that I usually go over. The thing with Ethereum is Ethereum generally doesn't really tell us anything too interesting about the market. The reason why I like to look at Bitcoin way more often, and you would notice this, right? The reason why I like to look at Bitcoin way more often is that, you know, Bitcoin is the controller. Ethereum, it has its place. You know, it controls some altcoins, and particularly the Ethereum BTC chart. You know, that shows you quite a bit about how Ethereum's doing in relation to Bitcoin, and hence how altcoins are doing in relation to Bitcoin. But as a general basis, Ethereum USD isn't really going to show you too much, you know, other than what Ethereum USD is doing. You know, it's not going to have much of an outlying effect. I mean, yeah, more so than other altcoins, but not very much in general. And so that's why I don't look at it too much, but we'll make sure to jump into it in this video for sure. And we've just seen the daily candle close on Bitcoin, so it's the perfect time to jump in and take a look. You know, literally just 3 minutes ago, and that's why I do these live streams at this time. And even though that doesn't suit some of my viewers, I know that for the vast majority of people, it does. It just sucks how we have to do it in working weeks. I understand that people have jobs as well, and you know, if there was a public holiday or something, that would be great. Increase my mic volume. Yeah, I'll do that for you, mate. Hold on 1 second. I'll just chuck it up a little bit because I don't want to get any background noise in here. That should be fine. If so, just turn up your volume on your whatever device you're listening to or something like that, because it does play up when you upload it to YouTube if you don't have the right volume settings, unfortunately. Mic volume's quiet as. Yeah, no, I'll turn this up a bit more for you guys. Let me know when it's perfect. That should be good. I'm coming up in the yellow bar there, as you can see. Let me know if that's good, guys. Let me know if that's a good volume there. Let me know in the chat. Hey, dude, love your channel. Could you take a look at the Nano chart? Give me your thoughts. I know you said a bit about Nano in the past. Yeah, I can look at Nano. And then right after that, we've got Digibyte analysis. So we've got 2 of the coins that are rivaling Bitcoin. We'll look at those both straight up. And then we can jump into some Bitcoin in a second. But yeah, the thing about Nano and Digibyte, right? Nano and Digibyte, they're both these kind of coins that are controlled kind of by how Bitcoin's doing. So as I've said before, if Bitcoin doesn't have a good cycle, because these coins rely on Bitcoin being successful, right? Because they're Bitcoin rivals. And so if Bitcoin's not the center of attention, if Bitcoin's not having a good cycle, these coins aren't going to be looking that good. And that's what's happened in 2021. You know, in relation to previous cycles, I mean, Nano and Digibyte, you know, sorry. Nano and Digibyte may look okay and may look like they've gone up a bit. And Nano's a very spiky mover. I mean, in one daily candle here back in April, we had a move from $6 all the way up to around $16. And then in another one, you know, in 2 days, we had a move from $8 all the way up to $21. I mean, those are massive moves. And it's undeniable that this thing does move. But the thing is, you know, if it was in a cycle that was primed for Nano to move, like a cycle in which Bitcoin went to 100K in a hypothetical scenario, this thing would be doing much better because if there's more interest in Bitcoin, there's more interest in Bitcoin rivals. But looking at it just briefly for you, mate, let me just draw up some rectangles here and just see what we can really find on Nano. And just off the bat, I don't think it's looking too great. And the reason being, just straight off the bat here, is the fact that, well, you know, we've got this support zone, this critical support zone here. And at the end of the day, it is debatable as to where you could put it. Now, I would consider it to be somewhere around the $2.30 region. But you could be conservative and you could bring it all the way up here to around $2.50, and I think that would make more sense actually. And the reason why this isn't looking good for Nano right now, and it might flip, it might turn. But the reason why it's not looking good is because we've actually dropped below the support zone, and we're below it right now, and we're struggling to break back to the upside. And in this period of little bullish price action, we're seeing descending volume, which is not good to see. It shows a lack of buying interest in Nano, and we've maxed out on or capped out on the stochastic RSI. We've already seen a bullish MACD cross, and we don't have any bullish divergence at the moment. So what I would see for Nano here is the fact that, well, we're rejecting from what used to be support, it's now resistance. We're rejecting from that zone. Now, what is worth noting here that I've just brought up is the bull market, the Bollinger Bands, and the Bollinger Bands are saying that, well, Nano, although it's in a bad position, although it's below resistance, we've got a pending move here. Something is coming for Nano, and that's why the bands are tightening there. So something's coming. There's a pending move here for Nano. And when you see tightening on the Bollinger Bands, it generally means that a large move is on the way. We've seen that multiple times for Nano. We've seen it multiple times in charting. So something is on the way here. I'd expect it for the next couple of days. Given the market direction, it could very well be upwards, but it's way too early to tell. I mean, if Bitcoin drops, then it's going to be downwards. It just means something's on the way. I wouldn't be able to tell you too much other than that, just because there's not really much to look at here for Nano. But the fact is, it's below the critical resistance still. And as for where I would be comfortably buying back Nano, so if I was, say, all of a sudden I was bullish on the market again, Bitcoin's above 48k, and we're back in bull market territory, where would I be bullish on Nano? Well, I would say, and I would argue that we're looking at anywhere between, say, $4 and $4 around that region is probably where I'd be looking at. I want to get back over this red box. I'd want to flip it for support quite clearly, and I want to drop above the bull market support band as well. And that would be a bullish continuation for Nano. Now, Digibyte, and then we'll jump straight into some Bitcoin, because I know that's what everyone really wants to see is some Bitcoin. Of course, and that's as I said, leader of the market. Everyone likes to see it. If Bitcoin moves up, everything's going up. Really, I mean, aside from this rally, I mean, the thing right now is that when Bitcoin has a sharp downwards trend and then moves up a little bit, like it's done right now, it's like altcoins aren't always going to follow. Altcoins only follow when the time is right, and we'll look into that as well. I think I'm having some glitches in my live stream chat here. Let me bring this back up for you guys. Yeah, I did. Okay, all good. All right, so we'll jump into some of those questions later. I know you guys have lots of questions to ask, but Bitcoin is the topic of analysis, like usual, the main topic. I'll look at Digibyte for you in a second as well, mate. So let's jump straight into Bitcoin. Well, we've just had a daily close on Bitcoin. And a lot of people, and excuse the messy chart here, I'm about to make a point about it in a second. There's these red lines, very, very messy. I don't expect you guys to look at that for a while. But what I'm seeing for Bitcoin right now, well, I copped a bit of crap yesterday for still being bearish on Bitcoin and still sticking by my prediction, but I'm used to that. I don't care. But the reason being is because people like to think this is bullish, and I would say that look, it is bullish. You can't say a move up, from 33k to 43k is bearish, or 44k. Actually, it's not bearish. Not at all. It's definitely a good step in the right direction. The reason why I am still bearish on Bitcoin is because my needs haven't been met with it yet. I don't think it's in a bullish continuation zone. I've always said, even when we were down here at 33k, that Bitcoin needs to get above 48k to be bullish. And why? Well, we'll look into that in a second. But I mean, I'm not going to jump and switch my prediction every 2 seconds just because Bitcoin's moved up 20% or 30%. I don't think that's a logical thing to do. I'm going to stick by what I said, because what I said is the objective reality of the situation. And I know that any prediction that I make now, any prediction that I change based on what Bitcoin's doing, is actually me just flipping my bias, flipping my opinion, based on, new price action, which is not a good thing to do. I'm trying to remain objective in this market. And why do I think Bitcoin looks bad? Okay, well, the first thing I want to say before I even say anything about that is kind of diagonal lines. Now, you'll notice here on this chart, I have 6, 7, maybe 8 diagonal lines here on this chart, and these are all red lines, and they're all cutting through price action. It makes a very, very messy, choppy price action here, and very, very hard to determine what's actually going on when you have this many diagonal lines. Now, the point I want to make is that diagonal lines are not something you should be relying on too much for Bitcoin. Now, a lot of people would have been pointing out in this rally the diagonal line break for Bitcoin, how that's affected the market, and how Bitcoin's breaking up because it's broken that downtrending line. Well, this is a good example of, all of these lines are tested, they're confirmed, they're very strong, but they just get moved through so easily by price action. We can see that occasionally they act as resistance and support. And if you wanted to be very technical, if you want to be very micromanaging with your investments, you would have all of these lines up because look, support, resistance, support. These act as resistance and support at every 2 seconds. But the point is, when you look at lines like this, you realize that, hey, yeah, they do act as resistance and support every 2 seconds, but they're also overcomplicating the main situation. So using that, what we can do is we can cut this down to just a few critical lines. And what I'm seeing as the few critical lines for Bitcoin is, let me just scroll back here. This one is obviously a critical line downside. However, it's way too far away to even talk about it. Let's delete that one. This one is the critical breaker. We've already broke down below that line, so it's irrelevant now. We're never going to test that again. We'll delete that one. And this one's pretty relevant in my opinion. This one's pretty relevant. These are the critical lines that I'm seeing for Bitcoin in terms of diagonal lines. We can really simplify this down to the critical levels. And you'll notice that a couple of the lines that I just deleted, there's no chance of us ever testing it again. One of the lines we deleted was literally down here at like 31K, and it was heading downwards like 500 per day. We're just not going to test that again. So it's irrelevant. We don't need it on the chart anymore. It's simply overcomplicating things. And so the point I'm trying to make is horizontal resistance and support is way more important than diagonal resistance and support. And so when we take that in consideration, as I said, we can simplify these lines down. Now we have resistance here from this diagonal line, this red diagonal line, that is acting in conjunction with the resistance we have at 45.5K. 45.5K is a very, very major level. 45.5K is basically what was holding us up. And I'll circle it for you guys because you can see it was holding us up here in December, right? It was the kind of the whole thing here where everyone said we're going to see a double bottom formation. I said, no, we're not going to see that. That was the bottom of the region. That was where the double bottom was meant to happen. We dropped below that, we lost it, and we dropped down straight to 33K. So 45K, 0.5K is very, very important. Some would say it's 46. I'd say it's 45.5 because that's where the wicks land. And then above that, we've got 48K, right? 48K is the critical level. It's the most important resistance we need to be conquering in this whole market. And then if you want it to be ultra conservative, I wouldn't really recommend doing this. But, if you just like have zero risk tolerance, I'd be waiting for 53K because above 53K is typically where we see, the all-time highs take place. It's kind of that region in which we have here, like the peak above 53, the peak above 53. That's pretty clear, like on a macro scale or on a larger scale, I should say. That's where you need to be buying back, fully if you haven't already done so. But 48K is where I would be buying back. Now, 48K is a very long way away. It may look like it's not too far away. I would strongly disagree with that. And the reason being is because, when you look at it from this perspective, you just take away everything. Right, yeah, it's very close. 48K is only like, 10, 15% above us. But when you look at it like this, it's like, okay, well, it's a little bit more of a challenge. And then you start bringing up the resistance and you're like, okay, well, the POC is actually at 47. Okay, so that's a very, very major area of resistance. And then the bull market support band's actually below 48K right now, and that's starting at 47. So that's pretty major as well. And then you look at things like the 200 and the 50-day, and it's like, well, we flipped the 50-day. That's a very good sign in the right direction. I'm not denying that. But we've got the 200 above here, just above 48. And then also on top of that, Ikomoku Cloud, we've actually rejected off in this last daily candle close. We wicked up to it, we rejected off of it. So, am I saying that, hey, we're not going to be able to break through these things? No, not at all, and I completely acknowledge the fact that there is the chance. I would say it's an unlikely chance, but I completely acknowledge the fact that it is the chance that, hey, we could be breaking above 48K and we could, in fact, be entering a bull market. But then, from that point, you have to ask the question, well, just because the technicals look good, it doesn't mean the macro looks good. And when you're looking at things like the stock market, at the S&P 500, and you're looking at things like the NASDAQ, you're looking at things like interest rates, you're looking at things like the DXY, which we'll look at all in this live stream here, you start to realize that, hey, maybe there's more to the story than 48K. Maybe the global economic situation, which relates to the financial markets, actually looks pretty abysmal right now. And maybe it's not the right time to be buying a very, very high risk asset. It's just a suggestion. I'm not trying to be obnoxious about it. I'm just saying, potentially it might be a good time to wait until mid-March to see what happens with those interest rates. I don't know, but trading's fine. But in terms of long-term investing, this is not a time in the market, price action and macro alike, that I'd be willing to buy a long-term investment in Bitcoin. But, looking at TA itself, aside from all of this macro speculation, because that's what it is, it's speculation. I can't be certain about what's going to happen in the macro environment. It's way too big a picture to deal with. I'm not necessarily a stock market investor anymore. And even when I was, I traded individual stocks. I didn't trade these major, portfolios of S&P 500, Nasdaq. It's not my forte, because you need extensive knowledge of the macro situation to understand that. And I don't think I have that extensive knowledge. I think I'm pretty educated on it, but and that's why I'm saying it's speculation, but it's speculation that is worth considering when you're managing risk in a portfolio. And technical analysis. Well, let me get into this quickly. And what we have with technical analysis here is the first and foremost, and the first thing you should be looking at in every single technical analysis ever, aside from resistance and support, which I've drawn out here, is the volume. The volume, in my opinion, is literally one of the most important things you can ever look at, because it is the most accurate thing you can look at. Every time the volume does something, it ends up resulting in something in the charts, right? And that sounds a bit vague, but I'll explain it to you a little bit further. When the volume is heading downwards in an upwards trend like it's doing now, since 33K, right? So we started this upwards trend, this small upwards trend, in 23rd of January, okay? We had relatively high volume, okay? When the volume is heading downwards in an upwards trend like it's been doing since the 23rd of January, right? It's the 8th of February right now. It's been heading downwards, right? The price has been heading upwards, and the volume has been heading downwards. So when this happens, this means that the trend is weakening, okay? And it may not look like the trend is weakening. And I can understand that point of view, right? And there's multiple reasons for that. There's explanations for that. But the trend, in terms of technical analysis, whether it's actually going up or not, is weakening, which means the buying pressure is slowing down. Now, this doesn't mean the price needs to stop going up, okay? When the buying pressure is slowing down, it doesn't mean the price needs to stop going up, because the selling pressure could also be slowing down. But the point is, generally, what you generally see in a market, and I don't go against for TA, this is a fact-based channel. I'm not speculating that, hey, well, maybe this time it's different. No, this is technical analysis. This is the objective reality of a situation. The volume's heading down, the price is heading up. It means the trend is weak. It means that I'm not going to be confident to buy into this trend, okay? And until I see the volume start wicking upwards consistently and building, and the price going upwards, I'm not going to think this trend is strong. Sorry, that's just what it is, right? And then when you take into account as well, not only do we have descending volume and upwards trend, which some people would like to just look past, and you could do that if the other technical analysis was good enough, you could do that. But on top of that, stochastic RSI has topped out. Okay, the last 4 times we've seen that on Bitcoin. I know stochastic RSI is very hit or miss, but I mean, where do we see that last of Bitcoin? Well, we saw it here. All right, Bitcoin dropped. We saw it over here. Okay, Bitcoin dropped. We saw it over here. Okay, Bitcoin dropped, and we're seeing it again. So what does that mean for Bitcoin? Well, I mean, if we're following the trend, if we're following technical analysis in an objective kind of standpoint, it means Bitcoin's going to drop. Okay, and then we look at something like the MACD, and it's like, well, MACD looks good, it's trending upwards, but the point is the majority of the move, or of the bullish move, is already over, according to the MACD. We look at RSI. RSI's reset past the neutral levels. It's actually in more oversold levels right now. It's not completely oversold yet. There's still room to move to the upside on RSI, but we've broken out of the RSI downtrend. We've gone from 33K to 44K. That's a move of around, well, let's see, that's a move of around, 35%. And you start to wonder, well, why are people buying right now after a 35% move in just a matter of 2 weeks? Because it's FOMO, it's greed, right? It's fear of missing out. And the point is that all of the indicators that previously would have said we're going to break out have already played out. And right now we're riding the wave. And the wave can only go on for so long. It's going to crash into the shore eventually. And that's not to say that, hey, well, it's going to drop back down to 33K, but it's at least to say that we could come down, we could retest 40K. Okay, we could do something like that. And even in that scenario, I would argue that that's more bullish than just going up more, right? Because if we come down and we retest 40K, at least we have an opportunity to do something like this, an inverted head and shoulders pattern. At least something like that, where an actual bullish structure is being formed, would form. At least we'll have, I don't know, maybe a glimpse of bullish divergence or something. We need something right now, because right now Bitcoin is riding a wave, and the wave is not very strong. It's weakening by every move. The only reason that Bitcoin is still moving upwards, in my personal opinion, is the fact that we've had multiple news events during this time. Okay, we've had an ETF being released, a Valkyrie ETF, right, being approved or something like that. Sorry, there's a fly here. Valkyrie, just on my microphone. A Valkyrie ETF being approved, and that's what led to the pump above 43K or to 44K, you could say. And then back here on this large candle from around 37 to around 41, we saw actually the job report in the US come out and like 400,000 new jobs or something, whatever that's supposed to mean, right? I don't even know what that means. I don't think it's that bullish at all. I think it's just a bit of hopium. But that happened, and the price pumped up because of it. But like, why? Who knows? And that's good to see as well. But the point is, both of these things are news events, and they're not sustained rallies. They're not reasonings for sustained momentum. And you could say, well, the fundamentals are better now, and that means the price is going to go up eventually. It's like, yeah, like kind of, but not really. People don't invest people aren't trading Bitcoin right now because of fundamentals. And you could say they are, but that's not really how it works. A very volatile asset is going to move volatilely, or I don't know what the word, with volatility, regardless of what the fundamentals are. If you're talking 5 years from now, it might see sustained growth from fundamental growth. And, fundamental growth is happening over a long period of time. But to pin it down to like this week and be like, well, now that this week's been good in the fundamentals, it means that we're going to be good forever in technicals. I know that's not exactly what people are saying, but it sounds a bit like that. And it's a bit of a dumb argument to make, in my opinion. I think that a volatile asset is always going to be volatile until it's not, right? And that's a slow process, and the fundamentals have to build over time for it to be less volatile. But for us to say, well, two events that like vaguely affect Bitcoin have happened in the past week, and therefore it needs to go to 100K, doesn't really make sense. Your point is what I'm trying to make, and I've kind of played it out, laid it out pretty carefully here, is that I don't think Bitcoin looks very strong in this rally. And I'm going to stick by what I said. Obviously it looks better than it did at 33K. I'm not stupid. But like I've predicted this rally. If you haven't watched my channel, I started warning people about this at 66K or 65K. Actually, if we bring it down to this wick here, it's actually 66K. Yeah. So I started warning people here. I noticed that, hey, this looks terrible. We started seeing bearish divergence. I literally started warning people. I didn't say it was a bear market. I'm not claiming that. I said it doesn't look good. I would be selling out of altcoins here. Okay. And then when we drop down here to 60K, and during this drop at 63K, I was like, all right, no, this actually really doesn't look good. We shouldn't be doing this late into the cycle. And I said, guys, get out of altcoins. I'm out of altcoins. I was out of the market by 63K. And then down here at 58K, 57K, and this is where I released a video on Twitter this morning, I said, guys, bear market confirmed, it's over. And people didn't believe me. People trashed me. And I stuck by that prediction, regardless of what happened. And we end up at 33K. All right. So I'm not trying to boast here, but what I'm saying is, if all of this happened up here and I was all bearish up here, why would I be bullish at 43K? On a personal level, there's no reason. If I get back up to 48K, which is my invalidation point, we break 48K, consolidate a little bit, because remember, it's not just about breaking, it's about actually flipping it for support, and then start heading upwards, I'll buy back in. And then I've still actually bought back in, 15K cheaper than I sold. So for people to say that I should be bullish right now, it's ridiculous to me. It's like, especially when there's no technical strength, and especially in the macro environment, I just really don't see a reason to be bullish. But going into a few more things, and then we'll get into some questions here. This chart here, and I want you guys to not forget, because at the end of the day, I need to advertise my channel, right? And I'm not just trying to tell you what I've done, but I want you guys to not forget that you would have seen this chart before. I had a green scenario, and I had a red scenario. A yellow scenario and an orange scenario. I don't know where I got those colors from. And the yellow scenario was we keep doing this. The trend is your friend until it ends, right? That was kind of a less favored scenario, but it was possible. And the orange scenario was we do a breakout. Now I haven't touched this chart since the breakout, and this is what I was expecting. This is what a vague guideline of what the breakout would look like. And we're following that right now. And, I think we're going to come up to 45.5K. I think we're going to reject off of it. And I think ultimately there's a solid chance that we could be testing 48. Now, I don't think it has to happen. And especially given the weakness in this rally, I think, it certainly doesn't have to happen, but I think there's a solid chance of it. And then March 15th, which is when this Federal Reserve talk is going on, I think we will see a correction across the traditional markets. And I don't think the arrow is going to look like this, by the way, but the point is the trend is downwards. I don't think the arrow is going to look straight down like this. And I think that the bottom will be coming in between April and November. And I think I would lean more towards the fact that November would be the bottom now that we've broken this downwards trend. And that is based off many, many things that I'll look at later in this video. So the point is, even this dead cat bounce move that everyone's telling me I need to be bullish about, I predicted this, in advance. I predicted this way up here, December. I wouldn't say I predicted it directly, but it was a scenario that I very clearly outlined. And I know what's going to happen here. I'm not saying for certain because I'm not a genius, or I'm not a crystal ball, but the point is I've foreseen this. This still looks bearish to me until we break 48K, and as per the scenario, it still looks bearish. So I'm not going to be flipping back bullish. Not until my prediction is invalidated, and it's not invalidated yet. We'll jump into some comments in a second here. I want to look at one more chart. And this is a chart. Actually, maybe we'll bring this up later in the video because this is a very interesting chart. I really do like looking at this chart. You know what? Screw it. We'll just jump into it right now. You know, I think we might do a bit of a shorter live stream today. So don't worry, your questions will get answered if you're putting them in the chat right now. We'll go through a big segment where we answer all the questions. But this is an interesting chart, right? And I want to look at this quite extensively here. Forget this logarithmic scale for a second. I just want to show you where this is from. So this is from the region here in 2018. In 2018, we had a drop from the bull market high. It was at about 20k, and essentially we dropped down, and then we had a dead cat bounce formation. And this is taken from the dead cat bounce formation. Okay, so it's actually, you know, it's not just a random fractal that I pulled out of Apple stock in 1998. This is from Bitcoin 4 years ago in a very similar place in the market than it was then, applied to now. So what does that look like? What does that look like? Well, it looks like this. And this is why I like it, okay? Look at these similarities. All the way from September, you know, basically a carbon copy, you know, all the way from September. A double peak, a drop down in a similar fashion to what we saw, a fake double bottom formation, a drop down further, you know, and then some chop around the bottom, and now a lift up, right? A dead cat bounce. And notice this, on top of all of this, that's a striking similarity. You can't even deny it. And then I'm not saying it's going to go to 56k, by the way, but on top of all of this, 48k acts as support and resistance. 33k is the same region. 33k and 35k are support throughout this entire drop. And 30k is support as well. It's like striking similarities. And 40k as well, by the way. So like, you know, even the resistance and support lines up. But that's not what this is about. The point is, the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because we'll look at those similarities. And this is kind of a scenario that you could argue for the November bottom, which is what I'm kind of predicting at this point. But, you know, not certainly. I think it's too early to tell, but I think November's pretty likely. And that shows you that, hey, the November bottom will be coming in here and it will look something like this, right? It's not going to play out perfectly like this. It very much probably won't even look like this at all. You know, fractals are very, very rough. I'm not saying this is what it's going to look like at all, but it's a scenario to give you an idea of how long we can actually consolidate. This is what happened in 2018 relative to current price action. We consolidated relative to current price action between 32k and 46k pretty much for literally, you know, 8 months. You know, that can happen. You know, Bitcoin doesn't need to be moving all the time. And I think a lot of people have been kind of surprised by the speed of this drop. It's been very, very quick. We don't usually see that in a bear market. And you know, that's because of the macro situation, in my opinion. But, you know, the point is, and another point I want to bring up is the fact that, like, well, this actually tops out coincidentally with, you know, March 15th is actually right here. And if we adjusted it slightly, I'm sure we can make it work perfectly. And that is the Federal Reserve meeting date. And that lines up with the top of this dead cat bounce on the 2018 fractal. So that's interesting to take a note of as well. Like, you know, there are striking similarities in terms of price action and in terms of macro events. But let's look at some questions. I think it's pretty compelling. Let's look at some questions. And then we'll jump into some more Bitcoin charts. And we'll jump into things like the macro. Because the macro, exceptionally important right now. One of the most important things you can look at. You know, arguably even more important than the Bitcoin situation. All right, so let's look into some questions here. Digibyte, we'll look into Digibyte quickly. I'm going to rush through these altcoin analyses today because, not DGB, sorry. I'll rush through them today because we have a lot of questions building up. And I want to keep my live streams under an hour from now on because my throat, as you guys will notice if you've done my last ones, damn, my throat just gets really sore, man. I can't speak for that long. You know, maybe I'll get used to it in the future, but I think that a lot of YouTube live streamers have co-hosts, and that's why they get breaks from speaking. I don't have that. And so I'm just speaking the whole time. And if you've ever done a speech that goes for an hour and a half, you know, it's very difficult. But especially when your brain's moving as well, you're not just reading script, you're kind of improvising. But what we're seeing on Digibyte, very similar to something we saw on Nano. If you saw the Nano analysis earlier, you would know what's going on here. We're below resistance. Nothing's really changed from the last analysis, from the last live stream. I would recommend you go check that out. There is the potential, and this is what I'd say about Digibyte if you're watching it. There is potential we could form an inverted head and shoulders pattern. We come up to resistance at 3.2, and then we reject downwards a little bit back to 2.6, and then we break back to the upside. That would be the bullish scenario for Nano. Digibyte, sorry. But would I see that playing out? Well, I'm not seeing bullish divergence in RSI. Let's bring up MACD. Not really seeing any bullish MACD cross. I mean, it's already happened, but the bulk of the move's done. What about volume? Low volume here. It's building a little bit, which is good to see, actually. It looks a little bit stronger than other altcoins, and obviously all of this is above us right here, and that's actually rejecting us from that region. So I think that this is quite a likely scenario for Nano. Digibyte, sorry. But again, looking at Bitcoin, this is just off the Digibyte chart, looking at Bitcoin, and I know altcoins don't need to directly correlate with Bitcoin, but when you look at something like Digibyte and Nano, they generally do because they're Bitcoin rivals. This could very easily reject here. I don't think looks good. Some more questions here. Are you using Elliott wave theory to analyze the Bitcoin chart? What do you think? Thanks. I think that Elliott wave theory is very hit or miss, and I think it's very subjective as well, but I have used it in the past, and I do continue to use it in the future, but I think, as I said, it's very subjective. I've noticed a lot of people who are using Elliott wave to determine bull market highs. Like, they were like, oh, is it move 4? Is it move 5? They're like kind of a bit of debate about what actually move it was in the Elliott wave theory, and I think that, it's a little bit subjective, a little bit too subjective for me. I prefer to look at staple TA, Ikomoku, bull market support band, volume. I like all of those things. And I like fractals as well. Rough guideline. I know they're not perfect. Can you comment on Nexo? Sure thing. I can comment on it. Look at it for a second here. Bitfinex. Well, it's coming straight into Ikomoku cloud resistance. It's in an upwards trend still, which is great to see. In fact, we could probably draw some sort of diagonal line. Not perfectly, but something like that. Actually, it is pretty perfect. So that is good to see. However, I would say that it's extended quite far from the initial bounce. There probably is some sort of channel structure here that you could draw out. So it's within a structure, which is good, and it's above critical support. So all of a sudden, it's better than most, like 90% of altcoins. But it is towards the top of the channel structure, and so I would be expecting a rejection off that top, come back down to the support, and you possibly look for an entry here for a swing back up to the upside. That's what I'd be doing for Nexo, just based off base level analysis. Thanks for answering my question today in the comments of your last video about altcoins. Much appreciated, mate. I have clear direction on what I'm doing with it all now. Cheers. No problem, mate. That's all good. Will Theta have a run on this bounce? Love your work. Let me check. I got a lot of Theta fans because I did a lot of videos on Theta during the initial bull market, and I do like it. Well, that's very interesting to see, just first and foremost, just straight off the bat here for Theta. I mean, that's great to see. And I actually, go back to my last live stream, I predicted this playing out. We were down here at around $2.60, $2.70, I can't remember exactly, but I said that, hey, we'll swing back up to the bottom side of this triangle. Played out perfectly. Another good prediction there. And what we've actually done now, and this is why I wouldn't be entering it right now, I think that it's already had its move because volume's descending, and we've just rejected off of the bottom of this triangle. So just straight off the bat, no, I don't think Theta's going to move again. I think that it's had its move now. And I think that the next step for Theta, unfortunately, you may not like this, but I think that ultimately the next step is bring us back down. Might take a few weeks, come back down to $2.50. That's what I think's next. But yeah, it was a good move, but I think it's already played out. I'd be surprised if this rally is sustained. More pain to come before we really rally again. I agree with you, mate. I'd be surprised as well. I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be mad. In fact, I want it to happen. I look at the chart every day and I think that, hey, I hope Bitcoin breaks 48K because that would be so much easier, for the channel and for my bank account. But, I just don't see it at this point in time. Do you think Bitcoin will test 50K in this run or the next one? Like in this current short-term move? No, I don't think so. I think that, as I've said, I'm bearish on the market and my invalidation point is 48K. So for me to think it's going to test 50K would be kind of contradictory to what I'm saying. But in the next run, the next short-term run, well, I don't think so. As I said, I think that Bitcoin's going to bottom out of a 200-week SMA. So, in the future, for sure, 100%. What's the Wolf's Bitcoin outlook following this scam pump? Yeah, I just looked at Bitcoin extensively. I assume you've probably seen that analysis. Any thoughts on Atom? Sorry, not Atom. Any thoughts on Atom? One of the alts that seems to be doing its own thing in the last few months. Yeah, sure thing. And guys, if you have any questions, chuck them in the chat. Any questions at all? I'm happy to answer literally anything regarding the market. Chuck it in the chat. I know you've probably got some that you haven't. Maybe you've asked other live streamers in the past. Literally here, this is your time to answer them. Sometimes I don't get to every comment on the YouTube channel. So if you have any questions at all, answer them. Ask them in the chat. I don't know what this line is. One of the alts seems to be doing its own thing in the last few months. Yeah, it does. It does. And I've looked at it before. It does seem to be doing its own thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's doing a good thing. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to continue doing its own thing, right? But, just first and foremost, we can try and draw some sort of line. And we can see something like that. And we can see that, well, the line's not really playing out too well. If we draw it from the bodies, the candle bottoms, rather than the wicks, we can probably see something like that happening. But, again, very rough. But essentially, yeah, it's still in an upwards trend. But what we've actually seen here on a longer term scale, and I wouldn't be touching this with a long stick right now. I would not be touching this. Is bearish divergence on the RSI. We've seen a bullish MACD cross, but it's not really going to lead to much because we're right on Ichimoku cloud resistance and we're right on bull market support band. And right now, well, we've seen a double top formation on the macro, and I think that the next step for Atom is to break down. Unfortunately, sorry about that, but that's what I think. And I think where could it go? Well, the obvious region it could go, in my opinion, is probably like $20. That's where I think. $20, and that's within a month, I reckon, or maybe 2 months. But that's what I think for Atom. So yeah, it's moving by itself, but how long can that really be sustained? What do you think is the best strategy for building a small account? Well, again, look, like everyone starts small eventually, right? Everyone starts small at some point. But I think that what I will say is that the strategies that a lot of Twitter analysts will tell you, where you just need to go all in on micro caps and just hope you to get rich, because if you make a 2x on Bitcoin, it's not going to matter. I think it's ridiculous. I think that I think that percentages matter more than numbers, and I think that if you make a 2x, good job. If you only made $50 from a 2x, good job. You still made $50. You still made 2x, and I think the purpose of go buy a microcap and hope for a 100x and maybe you'll make some money. It's ridiculous, right? Because at the end of the day, that's not going to teach you anything about actual investing, actual trading. If you're making 2x's consistently, yeah, you might only be making $50, $100 for 2x per 2x, but you're still learning those valuable skills and you're still increasing your trading talent. And eventually, it only takes so many 2x's before you have $1 million. Like, think about it logically. How if you start with $100, and I know a lot of people will be starting a lot more than $100, and you start with 1,000. Like I don't know exactly what the number is, but I'd assume it's like under 10, right? Where let's go. Okay, so 1,000. That's starting zero. 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16,000, 32,000, 64,000, 128,000, 256,000. So it takes 9 2x's from $1,000 to make $1 million. So like that's what you need to focus on. You just need to focus on improving your trading skills to the point where getting that 2x is significantly easier than it was if you were just going all into microcaps and gambling, right? And then once you improve your trading skills, it's like, well, then your portfolio is going to naturally grow over time. It's going to naturally grow very, very fast, right? And like, I'm not claiming to be this multi-millionaire at any point in my channel. It's not just simply not the case. But the point is, I've developed over time those trading skills in order to put myself in a way better position than the average trader. The average trader loses money. They don't make money. I think that a lot of people get the wrong perception about crypto trading. It's like they think that every trader's out here to make $10 billion. It's not necessarily the case. Most traders just want to make a living. And if you're making a living, you're doing better than 99% of the traders. I can tell you that right now. Just keeping it real. But yeah. Best way to build a small portfolio, focus on yourself, focus on your trading skills, don't focus on the money amount. Don't go for 100x's. It's just not realistic and you're going to get wiped out. Because at the end of the day, a little bit of money is better than no money. Can you do theta? Yeah, I've already done that, mate. Agree, there's no way you can call the bull market, you can call the market bullish until 48k when there's an imminent global crash coming. 100% agree with you, mate. I wouldn't say that it's a certain global crash as well. I think it's just way too much speculation to be certain. Like, I'm not even claiming that it's likely, right? I'm just saying, if there's a considerable chance, which there is, you shouldn't be bullish on Bitcoin. Because if you think Bitcoin's going to do well in a recession, well, you're crazy, mate. It's not. And at the very least, even if you think you do, at the very least, you have to admit it's never been in a global recession before. We've never been around on Bitcoin for a global recession. So how do you know how it's going to react? What I can tell you is in a global recession, people are going to be more worried about the next meal than freaking Bitcoin. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, like on paper, the use case kind of makes sense. It's like, well, look at how the traditional economic system has failed us. We need an alternative. Let's buy Bitcoin. But the point is, they're not going to have money to buy Bitcoin, and the institutions won't either, by the way. Global recession, how many institutions go bankrupt? Most of them. So to say that the institutional money is going to step in and buy Bitcoin during a recession, it's like, well, they might a little bit, but like most of them are going to go broke. So who knows, dude? Like, it's too much speculation. And even when we break 48k, it's like, even when we break 48k, I really want to make this known. It's hard to get as a YouTuber. It's hard, and as a Twitter, whatever you want to call it, influencer. I hate that word. It's hard to get your opinions across consistently unless you repeat them every single day. What I've been trying to get across recently is that, like, even if we break 48k, it's like, yeah, technically we look bullish, but like, you know, in terms of a macro structure, it's like, well, look at what's happening with interest rates. It's like, do I really want to buy back a long-term position? Not really. You know, the way I'm looking at it right now, I was like, if we break 48k, I'm willing to start trading again. But like, in terms of buying a long-term position, I don't know, man. I'm going to wait for March 15th, to be honest. If Bitcoin breaks the cloud 200-day and bull market support band, is there a chance it still tests the 200-week? There's a chance, but I don't think it's likely. Generally, how we look at Bitcoin, and I'll look at it right now for you in a second. I'll look at it right now, actually. Generally, how I like to think of Bitcoin, let's delete everything here, is that when it breaks the 50-week, we head to the 200. And I know that sounds like, well, history repeats itself, and people don't like hearing that, but it's just what it is. It's like, if we're not looking at history repeating itself, what are we looking at? You know, what do you think charting is? You know, technical analysis, it's all about history repeating itself. So yeah, like, that's what we're looking at, of course. But I'm not going to look at it too extensively. But generally what I'm saying, just to get the point across, is that whenever Bitcoin breaks the 50-week, which is currently 50-week, we're on the daily, sorry. I was going to say, whoa, what happened there? I was like, damn, maybe I'm wrong. Nah, whenever it breaks the 50-week, which is currently at 48k, surprisingly, with a bit of a coincidence, we end up at 200. And so, you know, bull market support band, Ichimoku cloud, it's all like, yeah, well and good, but 50 weeks really what I'm looking at, and that's at 48k. And 48, you know, bull market support band, Ichimoku cloud, the MACD, you know, volume profile, that's all kind of supporting evidence, but ultimately the 50 week is very important, and I'd say 48k is very important, you know. So, if we break above all of that, is there a chance we'll still reach for 200? Well, there's a chance, but, you know, as I've said, I wouldn't be predicting it because we're back above everything that was making me bearish in the first place. You understand what I mean? It's hard to explain. I'll go back and bring back up this chart because I don't want to lose this fractal chart because I really like it. And it took me a while to set it up. There we go. And we'll save that. Hey, Wolf, just saying hello from Jersey, England. Thanks, mate. Welcome to the stream. Theta, bro. Jay, go back maybe 10 minutes. I looked at Theta briefly, so go ahead and check that out. Interest thoughts on November. Interesting, I suppose you mean. I call it Trump take back begins. Love to see the market then. Yeah, very interesting, yeah. If 48k is where you buy back in and the March event still hasn't happened yet, how could you be so... Let me read that again. If 48k is where you buy back in and the March event hasn't happened yet, how could you be so bullish? Yeah, again, I just explained that. Like, it's like, well, you know, 48k in terms of technical analysis is where I'd be bullish again, but in terms of macro events, we have to be a little bit more skeptical than that. That's what I'm trying to get across. A link update would be great. Previous estimated target was $13. Cheers. Yeah, let me look at link. Yeah, I really struggle to remember a lot of my predictions, unless I've actually drawn it out on the chart, because as you guys would know, I look at this on like a daily basis. I look at a lot of charts, right? So very hard to see exactly what my previous predictions were unless I actually remember it specifically, like I do sometimes. But I assume what I said with Link was that, hey, we're going to come down to 13 USD. And the reason why I would have said that, and that's what you're telling me, so yeah, that's what I said. The reason why I would have said that is because, well, we came up, and this was a very bearish structure, by the way. We came up, we rejected off of the red line. What's the most logical thing to do when you reject off the red line? You come down, you test for support, right? So that was textbook. But we didn't do that, right? And this is the thing with technical analysis. It's like sometimes what you think is going to happen not going to play out. You know, even when it's the most likely thing based off technical analysis, even though in this upwards trend, volume was decreasing, even though we rejected from that red line, even though we had bull market support band above us, Ichimoku above us, you know, 50, 200, everything's above us, and it still is, we still managed to come back up, right? And even though, you know, we're up right now, it doesn't mean it's going to continue. Look at this downwards trend in volume. I don't think that this is going to continue. Yes, technically speaking, it is bullish. We've broken back above the long-term RSI trend line, not RSI, long-term price trend line. But, you know, as I've said with Bitcoin, it's like, if I think Bitcoin's going to reject from 48k, how can I be sure Link's going to go up? It's like, it's a little bit speculative. I would say that, yeah, it's still going to go down to 13, but definitely good steps in the right direction and definitely did something I didn't expect there. Didn't expect that. Wouldn't have expected that to happen. But I think that a lot of that should be attributed to the fact that, well, the only reason I think Bitcoin's broken out here is from news-based rallies. So hard to predict that kind of thing, to be honest. Thanks, mate. No worries. What did you do before trading? Lots of things. Mainly university and KFC. Yeah. Look, I don't want to get too much into my personal life because I think that, you know, as I've explained in previous videos, but yeah, I did work at KFC. That was a fucking shit time. But But when you get too deep into your personal life, you risk being exposed in terms of your identity, and I don't want that to happen because people get crazy over money, dude. Crazy. Like, I've seen it happen before with many YouTubers. They get insane. I commend these guys out here, releasing their identities to the public, because that is a risky move. Because you get some insane people out here when it comes to money, man. And if you make a call, doesn't play out, all of a sudden some dude's put his life savings in that, he's going to blame you. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. And I really encourage people, everything I say on this channel, every single thing, do your own research. It's not to be a clown saying not financial advice, but literally do your own research, right? I'm not responsible for your trading decisions at all. Hey, can you look at XLM, please? Sure thing. But yeah, man, KFC. If anyone's younger here, like me, because obviously I'm not an old person, right? I'm on the younger side. But I've been to university. I've done my fair share of real world work. I've worked at KFC for like 4 or 5 years, and university as well. I'm not going to tell you what I studied actually. Someone's going to come through here and pin this stuff together. I don't want to do that. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of university. I think that the degree that I chose to do, it's hard to explain. It's like the degree that I chose to do is like I was interested at it in one point in time, and then I started getting less interested, and then I started getting into trading, and like I realized that, hey, this degree isn't actually going to get me anywhere in life, and I can already do what I'm doing in this degree, in my personal life. And okay, I did a business degree, all right? I did a business degree. I'll show you that. All right. I did a business degree, and I said that, hey, I'm not going to tell you what I mastered in though. I said that, hey, look, I'm doing a business degree. I'm learning about like, federal tax rates or like random stuff that I'm never going to use in my life, when I was really just interested in trading. And I had this realization where I was like, the only reason I'm doing a business degree is because I think that like that's what I need to do in order to be like socially accepted. And it just didn't make sense to me, and I wasted a lot of money on that degree. Terrible. Wish I never did that. How's everyone doing? We have a new bear market maker. We have a new market maker join on Friday, playing games with retail and bears. Be careful with your trades. Expand on that. I'm not sure what you mean. A new market maker joining on Friday? Not really sure what you mean there. Wow, thanks for that, man. I've been putting more effort into finding 100x and sharpening my trading skills. Yeah, look, 100x, man. It's like, I think I've gotten one 100x in my entire trading career. And like I literally put like maybe $500 into it, and that's a big trade, right? I don't want to say that's a small trade. That's a big trade, and to be clear, I didn't wait for 100x before I sold. I was selling in increments along the way, so I didn't make 50 grand, right? But the point is, how many coins have I traded? Probably thousands, maybe 8,000, right? And it's like, well, and it doesn't look it because of my age, right? But I'm not going to tell you my age. But what I'm saying is like, I've traded like hundreds of coins, at least 1,000, and out of those coins that I've traded, like in the times that I've been in the coin, and I've seen maybe 2 or 3 coins do 100x, and I've been involved in like a few of them, but I haven't been there the whole way. It's very, very difficult to find 100x coin without taking extreme risk, because when you look at the market cap that is required to take 100x coin, it's like, it's ridiculously low. And so you're basically going to be scouring through Pancake Swap and PooCoin to look at all these trash coins. 90% of them going to get rug pulled on. It's like, it's very, very high risk. I wouldn't recommend to anyone to aim for 100x. It's very, very unrealistic. It's like, it's just greed at that point. Just go to the casino, do you think Sam could stay bullish? But like, in terms of like looking at 10x's are a bit more achievable. But even a 10x, it's like, do you want to secure a 2x, or do you want to risk, your money to make a 10x? It's like, it depends on your situation, But Sand still looks bullish, Sand still looks bullish, I will say. Like, I'm surprised by it. I'm really surprised by it. But this is the whole metaverse thing. I wouldn't expect it to be like this due to the fact that, well, Meta, Facebook, right, has had that tumble. But right now, Sand's on resistance very clearly. And so, like, although it looks bullish in structure, in terms of buying in right now, you'd be crazy. You'd be crazy. That's the structure for Sand, though. I think that it's very clearly a descending wedge. In fact, you could probably do something like this. And even using that, it's a descending wedge structure. Descending wedges typically break to the upside. There's a chance Sand could break to the upside here. If it does, I'd enter a trade. But if it doesn't, we're going to come back down for another swing to the downside. Given the bearishness on Bitcoin right now, given the weakness on Bitcoin, I don't think it's going to break to the upside. And even if it did, I don't know if I'd be willing to buy into it, because, as I said, Bitcoin just looks so weak. But I'd be waiting for a swing back to the downside here for Sand, and then potentially entering Sand there. Potentially. but I think it's still overvalued. I think it is. Excellent content, Wolf. Can you please share your thoughts on Wanchain? I don't know why I say Wanchain. You guys know I'm Australian. I should say Wanchain, but Wanchain just sounds more natural. I always look at the market as still having a great potential because I have great faith that Wanchain will still hit at least $20 to $25. Yeah, Wanchain, man. Disappointment. I really like this coin fundamentally, man. I really do. You guys would know, for those of you who watch my channel quite a bit, I'm a big friend of Mega Whale. We talk a lot about the market, a few times a week at least on calls. We often talk about Wanchain, and Wanchain was one of, I'd say collectively, but, he's been around with Wanchain since 2018, so definitely preferably his. But I've been speaking on Wanchain a lot, and the reason why I was bullish on Wanchain is because I was very bullish on the fundamentals. I was really bullish on it. I thought the fundamentals were top of the line, and they are. It's got a DEX, it's got a gamified platform which you can farm NFTs, sell NFT marketplaces, all in the network. It's got multiple things. It's got a leverage options, decentralized options trading platform on the network as well. It's partnered with State Grid Corporation China, second biggest company in the world by annual revenue employees. I don't know how this coin didn't take off. I think it was the marketing. But yeah, we've dropped below major structure. We're in bear market territory for Wanchain. I've got serious doubts about Wanchain. I really think that this is very, very, very critical times for Wanchain. I don't hold any Wanchain. I haven't held Wanchain for months. In fact, I sold the vast majority of my Wanchain up here in May. I saw that double top formation. I sold it down here at $2. I saw that. I was really expecting this coin to go to all-time highs, $10. Didn't happen. And it just goes to show you, I'm not here to hide my mistakes. Stuff doesn't play out. But when you look at a mistake, though, a mistake, not to cover myself, but when you think about a mistake, it's a mistake is something that negatively affected you. I mean, I bought into Wanchain. I encouraged you guys to buy in the Wanchain. I only started my channel in May 2021, but I was active on Telegram back here in November, 2020. And so I was encouraging people to buy this on 40 cents, 30 cents. So I wouldn't consider that a mistake. But as for Wolves of Crypto, the vast majority of my audience, yeah, I probably started shilling Wanchain in July or June, and it was down here at 50 cents. So even then it wasn't a mistake because it still went up to $1.30. But the point is, it didn't reach my expectations. I don't know what to say about Wanchain, man. I hope it goes up in the future, but I don't know, man. It's one of those coins again. I really like the fundamentals, but it just simply cannot attract attention no matter what it does. It's hard to say. Yes, sir. Thanks for the response. That was a relatively simple way to understand the 50-week and the 200-week. Wow. No worries. I'm glad I could help there, mate. Thanks for watching. Thanks for answering my questions and answering my queries again, brother. Best TA educated opinions on YouTube. You're a legend, mate. Thanks for watching. I'm also bearish side, but where do you see it going in the short term? I'm also on the bearish side, but where do you see it going in the short term? Bitcoin? Well, again, looking at this chart here, generally speaking, I could see it going up for a 45.5k retest before ejecting. I could see it going to 48. Generally speaking, I don't know because, I wouldn't have expected this to happen. I'll tell you that much. It's it's happened because of news. It's happened because of unnatural price action. And so I'm not going to try to predict it, to be honest with you. But it's not something that I'm willing to buy yet. Thanks for answering my questions. As of always, the hardest part is sometimes keep doing nothing. Exactly. Doing nothing is the hardest thing you're going to do in the market. Patience. Very difficult. And that's why I have this YouTube channel. I don't do this. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I do this out of a generosity of my heart. Not necessarily the case. Obviously, I love helping people, and I think that we need more educated people in the market for the market to go forward. I'm doing my part in that, but generally speaking, it's a lot of the time I'm just sitting here looking at charts and not actually trading. So I need something to keep me occupied. That's why I'm doing this channel. But yeah, I do like helping people, and I'm glad that I can share my opinions. But it's just at the end of the day, it's just something to do, and that's just pure honesty. You mentioned KFC. Now I'm ordering a KFC bucket because I'm hungry. Yeah, we'll enjoy that, mate. Just know that you're, just know that there's a lot of minimum wage 14-year-olds behind that bucket you're ordering. Man, oh man, that was a terrible job, bro. Look. Okay, here's the thing about fast food. Quick kind of side note. Working in fast food, I know that a lot of people probably have done it before. Working in fast food is very difficult. It's a very challenging job, especially where I worked. I don't know if it would be for everyone, but I worked in a very, very busy area. I'm talking capital city busy, the main KFC restaurant. So you're not stopping. And when you think about you're not stopping, you're literally sweating within like 30 minutes of working there. You're going full out, you know, like, and like, I was one of the older ones there. At least I was towards the end. I mean, I worked there for 4 or 5 years. And you know, I was put on with trainees. So I'd be training like a 14-year-old kid how to work a minimum wage job, you know, while basically, you know, busting, you know, out the chicken every day for like $14 an hour AUD. It's like, what's the point of that? You know, but at the end of the day, it teaches you good work ethic. That's what it's all about. Teaches you leadership skills. Teaches you how to communicate effectively. So I don't regret it, and I think that I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't do it, because it does teach you persistence, good work ethic. But like in terms of immediate reward, terrible job. Like, damn man, like crazy terrible. Anyway, okay, sorry, I keep asking about your personal life. It's just inspiring. I don't know if you should be inspired by me, man. Like, there's a lot more people in this market to be inspired by, and even in real life, like I'm not someone you should be inspired by, mainly because I don't even tell you who I am, you know. So don't be inspired by me. But if you want to learn from my technical analysis, feel free. Right now, I'm in college studying business as well. I'm a sushi chef. I hope to open up my schedule more, man. Yeah, look, it's very hard as someone who works in the retail. Oh, well, it's not retail; it's actually hospitality to and retail as well. But retail is a little bit more convenient to educate yourself on things like trading, the market, Bitcoin, etc. while at work. Because when I worked at KFC and when I was at university at the same time, it's like I was spending 90% of my time at KFC and at university. And so I didn't really have time to study the market. And so, you know, what I used to do is I used to, like, on my breaks and stuff, I used to listen to podcasts. And while I was working, when it was late night shifts, because I used to work like late nights, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and I'd be there, you know, listening to podcasts about cryptocurrency while working KFC. And I was like, man, I'm going to do this someday, you know. And I've reached that point as of recently. You know, I've been a full-time trader. It depends what you mean by full-time. I've been a full-time trader in the sense that I've been making an adult income for like a year and a half, 2 years. And that's due to my age. But like behind that was like basically ever since I turned 18, like years of effort that went into it, you know, or like, you know, how many years can it be? I'm young. I don't want to disclose my age, but you know what I mean? Obviously, you can't start out making a full-time income from trading straight away. You need to be educated, and it took a long time of trial and error. But like, what I would recommend to you is just like find any spare minute you can in your life. Like, even if it goes for older people out there, you know, like find any spare minute you can in your life to, you know, educate yourself on something that you actually care about. Investing in yourself first. It's like, you know, you're getting paid at a job, right? Say you work full-time, 9 to 5. It's like you're getting paid at that job to work that job. But they're paying you just enough for you to survive, basically, in most cases. It's like they're not paying you enough, and if they are paying you enough, it's because you're dedicating more of your life towards it. They're not paying you enough for you to justify doing that forever. Like, you need to be investing in yourself as well. Invest in yourself first. Invest in your boss later, you know what I mean? Like, your boss is less important than your progression as a person. New market maker, new money, more shakeout, more fake out. Yeah, you mean that's going to happen on Friday? What makes you think that? What's happening on Friday? I don't recall. It's 2 a.m. here. I don't really know. It's 2 a.m. here, yeah. Very late. I assume this is my EU people. TA on Tris Olarisis. Might have to go to Dextrina. Well, I can look at CoinMarketCap, but I don't know the ticker. I think this is probably a low cap coin. I'm not particularly... Yeah, it's not on CoinMarketCap, man. I can't bring it up because I'll just leak my information, unfortunately. Yes, very undervalued Wanchain. Wanchain's very undervalued. The fact that DeFi Summer passed it by was a first major alarm bell. Definitely, man. And there were definitely alarm bells along the way that I should have looked at more precisely. And I kind of did. If you look back at my old Wanchain videos, I said that this is a very high-risk coin, very low market cap, very struggling to get the attention of the market. But I really thought it would have. But that just goes to show you, it's like, you know, even altcoins that are so promising in fundamentals don't necessarily have to be promising in price. I'm looking for coins for the very long term, like 10 years. Bitcoin. Thanks for your opinion. Appreciate it. Do you think that the ethos of decentralization is slowly dying in crypto? I think that it kind of does. It kind of is. I think it kind of is. You know, when you look at... Okay, here's the thing. It's like when you look at someone like Michael Saylor, a lot of people like to look at Michael Saylor as like this big guy who's like the best, you know, he's like controlling Bitcoin and like, you know, he's an inspiration, he's a role model. I love Michael Saylor because I invest in Bitcoin. He makes the price go up. Like, not really, man. He controls like what? I think, I don't know exactly, but it's up there. It's like 5% of the supply that will ever be made, or ever be created in Bitcoin. It's like when you have one person or one company, I should say, but mainly one person. controlling 5% of the total Bitcoins in the world. It's like, it's decentralized, but at what cost, you know? But that's the result of free market. You know, you can't not have that. That has to happen. It's the result of the free market. You know, so it's hard to say. It's like, you know, what's worse? You know, Michael Saylor or MicroStrategy controlling 5%. I think it's 3% of the Bitcoin, or us running on a system that's going to fail eventually. We just don't know then. That could wipe out the middle classes and lower classes. You know, it's pretty obvious to me what's worse. Probably going to close this up soon, guys, so make sure to leave your thoughts here. But I'm going to look at traditional markets before we close up. I need to sleep more, man. I'm telling you. Thanks for your opinion. Appreciate it. No worries. Do you think that... Yeah, I've already read that. They probably pay minimum wages at KFC with Doge and Shib. Man, I wish they paid with Doge and Shib. I would have taken that any day. Fast food is weaponized food. I don't know what you mean by that. Get a little bit political there. Modern wages are just food and bull coupons. Exactly. Bill coupons. Exactly. Don't they have the Super Bowl this week with a bunch of crypto ads? Yes, they do. I'm not sure if it's this week, but I think they do. And the reason why I'm not bullish on that is because, like, well, there's only so much impact retail can have control of the market, and we've seen that in 2021 as a whole. Look at 2021. Let's zoom out. Look at 2021. This is 2021 and 2022 in Bitcoin. Okay? This is the bull market that everyone has been hyping up for since 2018. 4 years. Everyone's been hyping for this bull market. Everyone's been saying, this is the one. We're going to 100K. We're going to 300K. We're going to 400K. We're going to $1 million per Bitcoin. Everyone's been saying that, right? And they were saying that up until, like, literally November. Didn't happen, right? Why did that not happen? Why? Right? Institutions. There is more institutional control on Bitcoin now than there was previously. When there's more institutional control, when there's exchanges offering leverage at a higher rate, when more people are using leverage, it means institutions can take control easier. It means they can use that leverage against retail to flush them out. It means they can profit while the retail suffer. That's the reason. So when we're looking at retail control, when we're looking at advertisements, it's like, yeah, it's good. It's not bad, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin's going up, you know? Like, how many advertisements were in 2018, 2017? Bitcoin still crashed. You spelled it wrong. That's why it didn't come up. The ticker is try. Oh, sorry, mate. I'll look at that again. Charters on CoinGecko. Yeah, look, again, like I can't look at CoinGecko because I can't change tabs right now. I'll leak my information, but I'll be sure to. Let's look at CoinMarketCap. Try. Trinity. No, that's Tribe. Hold on. That's the wrong one. I don't know why I clicked on that. Let me try spell it again for you. I'll try spell it. If it's not on CoinMarketCap, I can't look at it, unfortunately. Yeah, it's not going to come up. Because I'll have CoinGecko up for you the next live stream. I can look at it on the next live stream for you, mate. I promise you that. Just come back in the next live stream. I have CoinGecko up and I'll look at it for you. 45K before the end of the day possible. Yeah, for sure. 100%. We're at 44 right now. Like, it could happen for sure. Do you think the Olympics have an impact on traditional markets and crypto markets? There are theories that it has an impact. I think that theories don't matter. I think that what matters is technical analysis. What matters is macro. I don't think the Olympics is necessarily a fundamental event that's going to lead to Bitcoin going up or down. So no, not necessarily. But yeah, it could. Like, it could. But like, who cares, right? You know, news only has an effect because the TA is in place for it to have effect. You know, wasn't it right there? But are you referring to this coin? Sorry, I'll try to spell it again. I don't know what. Am I missing something here? Let me see. Tris. I'm spelling it how this guy spelled it. There it is. Oh my gosh. I don't know how I'm not seeing that. I'm actually blind. Market data is untracked. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I don't know how I didn't see that, but yeah, it's untracked anyway, so I can't look at it regardless. But like, I'm going blind, man. I'm telling you, I need more sleep, man. I need more sleep. Anyway, let's look at traditional markets. 35 people. What's going on? We're gonna look at something very important right now, so stick around. Traditional markets. Wow, man, this is an interesting topic because we have very important times coming up in March, mid-March, for traditional markets and for cryptocurrency as well. Interest rates. Now, lots of different opinions in the Wolfpack about interest rates. I'm not going to try and tell you that my opinion matters more than your guys' opinion because it doesn't. But here's what interest rates is to me. Here's what it means to me. Low interest rates, right? When we have low interest rates, basically means that inflation is allowed to run rampant while the market grows. What have we seen in 2021 and 2020? The market growing, right? Look at this exponential growth. Look at this vertical uptrend. That's because of low interest rates partially and inflation, right? Because inflation and low interest rates go hand in hand. As I said, when we have low interest rates, we have high inflation, okay? And now the Federal Reserve is saying that in mid-March, March 15th, it's not certain, they could be raising interest rates for the first time. This is going to be in an effort to combat inflation, but the negative effect is when we combat inflation, when we have high interest rates, the markets, traditional markets, generally go down and sometimes enter a financial recession. So, there is the risk on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and the stock market that we could be entering a recession. It's not certain, it's not even likely, but it's risky, okay? If we do enter a recession on the financial markets, what is Bitcoin going to do? Probably crash. We don't know. We've never seen Bitcoin in a recession before. But the point is, we're forming like a head and shoulders pattern here. We're rejecting off bull market support band. S&P looks terrible in my opinion because people are getting prepared for it. Is it priced in? No, it can't be priced in because it's not certain. And also, if you think interest rates being risen for the first time in like 2 years during times of record high inflation would lead to a recession a correction of only 7%, you're crazy, right? It's not priced in yet. But partially, yes, it might be partially. DXY is very interesting. DXY, and I looked at this yesterday. Go back if you want a more in-depth explanation, go back to my video yesterday, my last video on my YouTube channel. When the DXY heads up, Bitcoin heads down. When it heads down, Bitcoin heads up, right? There's strong correlations there. I'm not going to look at them. But this is heading upwards now. It's in a cup formation, double bottom formation as well. And we've got an uptrending pink line. This thing is heading upwards. It's against resistance right now. It's rejecting against resistance, and that means that Bitcoin's been allowed to move upwards slightly. You'll notice that in the last 4 or 5 days, Bitcoin has had its strongest move in a while, and that's because the DXY has crashed. Okay? But this thing is on support now, and it's suggesting that, hey, it's going to move up again, and that means that Bitcoin's probably not going to move past 48k in this rally. And if this moves up, Bitcoin's going to move down. It happens every time. It's actually a very strong correlation, undeniable. And if the Fed raises interest rates and the traditional market's correct, the USD is going to go up, the DXY is going to go up, and hence Bitcoin's going to head down. That's the traditional markets right now. That's why it's so risky. I hope that was clear. Basically, to summarize, we're in a period of intense uncertainty in the traditional markets that we haven't been in a while. And March 15th is the critical time in which that's going to come to a head, and we're going to see what's going to happen. Now, it could go very, very bad, or it could go fine. There's no good. Right? It could go very, very, very bad, in which we correct in the financial markets, the DXY heads up, Bitcoin crashes, or it could just keep going and maintain the status quo, and the market just keeps going where it is. So it's either a bad scenario or a neutral scenario. So you can understand why I'm bearish, just because there's no good scenario. Anyway, when large companies announce that they have Bitcoin in their balance sheet, is there a chance that they brought it a long time ago and the announcement is made to help them sell their own news for pump? Yeah, 100%, man. Like reporting on big companies reporting, very dodgy stuff. Like they can do it literally. I mean, you can see with Tesla, they publicly announced it when they didn't need to legally, but like it took them, 10 months to announce they bought Bitcoin. They don't need to announce it when they want. They announce it at the end of financial year, but they can do it whenever they want, Would you be able to give a quick understanding of the MACD cross and what it implies? Sure thing, I can. So, at a very fundamental level, and actually, matter of fact, I've done a video on this, so go ahead and check out my Simply Explained series. You'll be able to find it on my YouTube channel homepage. But MACD cross, essentially what it means is that there's two kind of moving averages kind of thing. The red line, okay, so we can bring it up here and we can show you. The red line is called the signal line. The MACD line is the blue line, okay? The way I like to think of it, a lot of people would think of it a different way, is when the red line moves underneath the blue line, okay? When the red line moves underneath the blue line or crosses underneath the blue line, that's why we call it a MACD cross. It's bullish. It means the price is going to go up, right? And when the blue line moves underneath the red line, it's bearish. It means the price is going to go down on a very, very simple basis. Now, the histogram is something as well we can look at. The histogram is this kind of bar chart pattern in the middle. It's like, so when it's dark green, it means that it's trending upwards. The price is trending upwards. The MACD is trending upwards. When it starts turning lighter green, it means that it's trending downwards. It means that the move is getting weaker. Same thing with red. So that's a fundamental analysis of MACD right there. If we enter a big recession similar to 1929, which could last like 10 years, will Bitcoin's 4-year cycle prevail? The 4-year cycle will always prevail, for sure. But the point is, the effect the 4-year cycle has on price action doesn't have to. So it could be a 4-year cycle in which we go up 50% in the bull market. We don't have to move up 10x. And in the bear market, we go down 90%, But ultimately, 4-year cycle is about dates, not price action. And we've learnt that in this cycle. So yeah. But I don't think we'll enter a recession similar to 1929. I think that that's a little bit extreme. I think that recession is very unlikely. Possible, but unlikely. But a correction is likely, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there, I think. I think we just got a super chat of some sort. Did we? Not sure. It's not coming up on the thing. I don't think we did. Maybe it was a subscriber. Don't think it was a super chat. But thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there.